So after dropping my BMW i3 off for service of the AC system being malfunctioned, they have given me a BMW X1 2018 to drive in the meantime. So I am gonna make a review about this car and why I think this car is such a bargain at $34,000. Well, first, when I first stepped into the car, what blows my mind is that this is actually a base model and the starting value for this car is just $34,000. Now, this car that I'm currently in, again, is a base model, but it does have a couple of options such as the parking assist and also the front and rear front heated seat. That's about a $1,300 extra option for those two things. So it does bring the price to just a little bit higher, but everything else in this car is pretty much stock, and that's one of the reasons why I think this car is such a bargain at a starting value of $34,000 as its base model. Now, one of the things that really stood out is the roominess of the interior. As you walk into the car, it's just a tons of room. Now, when you look at the X1 and you compare that to the X3 or the X5, of course the X1 is the lower end of those two that I mentioned, but the amount of room you get is really surprisingly big. Now, if I compare this to a sedan, I would compare it to like a 5 Series interior roominess. So even though it's just the lower end of the SAV family of the BMW, but its interior space is just surprisingly significant, and that was one of the things that I did not expect, especially walking towards this car. It just looks so small on the outside. Now, the second thing is of course the performance. Now, BMW has designed this car to be it's crossover between the sedan and the SUV, but the performance you get in this car is actually very exceptional. Now, BMW, of course, is known for performance, and even though they only put a 4-cylinder twin turbo in this car, it does not feel like a 4-cylinder. This car, again, as being part of the BMW family, will really just get up and go. If you need to accelerate, it will accelerate. So I think they have tuned this car the right way to really save gas and be able to just deliver an exceptional product at just $34,000. I think this is like a super bargain BMW. And another thing that really stood out is, of course, this is a BMW, and at $34,000, which I will keep bringing it back because I just think it's such a bargain. You're getting a BMW luxury performance car, and the fact that this has a BMW badge just doesn't mean it's a badge. It actually performs like a BMW, which you expect, great power delivery and just really tuned suspension and tuned ride performance, and it drives like a BMW. Now, I've owned a BMW 5 Series, a really older model, before I switched over to the BMW i3, and this car feels like a BMW. I mean, everything about it is a BMW. Its interior space, the smell reminds you of a BMW, and the reason why I bring up these traits is because it is such an inexpensive car. I feel like this is a bargain. The design of the interior, it flows correctly, and I have to say that starting with the 2017 model and on, currently I'm in the 2018, they designed this car to be a daily driver car, I believe. And if I were to drive on a daily basis to and from work, I don't think I would want to spend any more than $33,000. I would definitely get this car just because it performs great. They do pay attention to a lot of the details. For example, when you close the door, there are rubber seals between the front door and the rear door to kind of give you that really soft, plush sound when you close it. And part of that reason is also to really seal up and block all the exterior noise from coming into the cabin to give you a comfortable ride. If you are one of the clients who enjoy being in a sedan but also thinking about, you know, getting into the SUV or the SAV segment, I think this car is perfect, because I feel like this car is really a blend between the 5 Series and the BMW X3. Now, BMW X3 is an exceptional car, but this car is just, the X1 is just more nimble, because it's a little bit shorter, it's a little bit lower than the BMW X3, and therefore it gives it a really nimble ride that I believe a lot of the customers will definitely appreciate. Now, notice that it has, even though this is a base model, a lot of the details that are in this car is just exceptional compared to a Honda or a CRV. I'm sorry, a Toyota RAV4 or a CRV. And the reason why I'm comparing this car to those two cars is because the price range for an X1 and the price range for a CRV and a RAV4 loaded, this is actually cheaper than the loaded RAV4 or the CRV. So if you have to compare between those two cars and this car, I think this car gives you a lot more quality materials, and the performance and the and the way how it rides, what you enjoy most in terms of commuting. This car will really deliver that product. You can kind of feel the quality that's in this car comparing to that car. Now, of course, there are some features that you can sacrifice because of the price range, such as you won't get blind spot detection, collision warning. Those things are omitted because, again, this is a base model. I like to compare this base model because the price range is just exceptional. In terms of safety, this car is, I believe, this and Mercedes are two of the most safest brand out there because of the way how it is built. There are a total of 6 safety airbags, 2 in the front, and you got the curtain, and then you got the rear airbags. So in terms of safety, I don't think BMW sacrificed anything in this car, and that's what makes it like so special. I'm driving. I'm actually, again, I'm in a loaner car from Crevier dealership down in Southern California to switch out my i3, and I'm actually falling in love with it. Now, some of the amenities, of course, is not comparable to the X3 or the X5, just because it's in the lower end trim, but it's definitely doable. Even with the base price, you get, you know, start stop, and I think that's one of the very important features now. It makes it convenient for you not to have to, you know, insert your key and then ignite the engine. It's just a convenient feature that I really appreciate. It also has a automatic on-off features, so that when the engine, you let the computer manage the engine, so when you're at a red light, then it will shut off the engine for you to save on gas. Now, I have that turned off just because it is ridiculous. It just bugs me. So but that, at least that is there for you. The automatic transmission is an 8-speed automatic transmission, and they don't, you know, because this is the base version, they don't try to, you know, add a lot of technology in it. So it's automatic, but it's not an automatic shifter, so you have to actually put it into drive as you would with any other cars, like, you know, any of those older BMWs. Newer BMWs now tend to have, like, you know, the shifters where it's electronically shifted, so it will shift for you as you know, you just have to go and, you know, either push a button or just push it into drive, and it will shift for you. But this one is just an 8-speed automatic, and you have to really put into the drive. Another thing that stood out to me is the fact that a lot of the features in this car is manual. So because of that, there are less likely items that will actually break down. So in terms of reliability, I think this car is gonna be okay. I haven't had a lot of data, and I don't own this car to really give you a precise idea of how its reliability, but I can tell you that based on my past experience with BMW, I think this car is gonna be reliable. Now, one of the things that I'm just gonna throw it out there is, of course, the turbo. I'm not a fan of the turbos, but I do appreciate that being in this car, because it does make this car feels a lot faster. Turbos tend to have a shorter lifespan where you have to really maintain it, so it's not really my big thing. But I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it isn't. And again, because you own a turbo car, you just know that the cost is just gonna be a little bit more. But in terms of any other items, I think this car won't fail you in terms of its reliability. Now, the seating comfort is the seat is actually very comfortable. I mean, it's beautiful. This is not a leather seat. It's a synthetic material, and the feel is like leather. The look is like leather. The smell isn't like leather. The quality, I don't know exactly what the quality is, but at the present moment, as a new car, the quality looks great. What I was referring to is the long-term quality. How is it going to last? And based on some of the information that I've gathered, it seems like this synthetic material will last even longer than leather. And you know, BMW leather, it's our high quality, and they last at least 10 years without, you know, a significant deterioration. So I think the quality of these, you know, synthetic leather will definitely, you know, last a long time as well. So I wouldn't really, you know, worry too much about that. And that's one of the things that a lot of car makers, especially luxury line, are leaning towards, just because it saves them money and they're able to kind of pass the savings on to the passenger. So who would this car be for? I would say this car would be for someone who does daily commute to and from work. I think it's just a really comfortable car, and I think it's really, and I would definitely take this car over, if you're looking for like a small crossover SUVs, I would definitely take this car over any other cars out there, especially like the non-luxury brand car, Toyota, Honda, or Mazda, or Nissan. I mean, the price range is kind of like so similar that why don't you, and it's actually even cheaper than some of the fully loaded CR-V or RAV4. So why wouldn't you take this car over that car? Of course, you're going to sacrifice some of the safety features, but if you're one of those guys who just, or girls who just want a car to get you from point A to point B, it looks beautiful, it performs like a luxury, it performs well, it's a luxury car, and you're okay with, you know, having, with omitting some of the technology features, then definitely this car is right for you. It's beautiful. I think you won't, you know, regret it. Again, a few of the things I like is the roominess of the interior. It blew my mind. The performance of the engine, the luxury drive of BMW and its performance, that's just something that you don't, it's really unique to BMW. It's not really, you can't really experience this in a RAV4 or a CR-V, or, you know, Benz or Porsche are more closer to the performance of a BMW. But in terms of the price range, I think this is a steal. I think this is a bargain that a lot of people kind of overlook, just because it's in the lower end, and at the first sight it might look small, but you really have to give it a drive, and you will appreciate these. And to make this deal even sweeter, if you wait a couple of years and buy this car used, the saving is just enormous. You're trimming like at least 50% off the price, and that's ridiculous, just because you're just basically stealing this car. So I hope you enjoy the video. Please subscribe to Motorhead, and we'll talk more in the next video.